I am going to be covering the offline channels within Marketo Measure today. This is strictly the operational aspect of the setup and the system. The reason why I wanted to spend some time on this is I feel like this is something that is often missed when it comes to this attribution tool. Obviously, with attribution, the big thing is how can we be able to see what's happening on our website, what's happening online, what's happening from our ads, pushing to our site, and how does, what does that all impact? But as we all know, there's these events that we host that we import into Marketo or into our CRM. There's these other engagements happening, and that's what we define as offline. So you all have probably heard it many a time, but online touch points and offline touch points are the two the two touch points you talk about when you talk about Marketo Measure. Online is anything that the JavaScript can track, just being what is your website tracking. Offline is anything in which your website cannot track. So, I mean, offline could be a webinar that's hosted by a third party, or an offline could be a webinar that's hosted by a third party. An offline could be an event. An offline could be if you have maybe some partnerships that you are working with where you know your like content syndication or whatever it is, and that partner allows you to host some of your content. Someone fills out a form, but they have the list, and then they give you the list and you have to import it, right? Technically it's happening online, but your JavaScript has no insight into it. So today we're going to spend some time in the offline channel setup. Okay, so I'm going to cover the offline channel area. I'm going to cover some of the general functions within the Marketo piece. I'm only going to focus on the Marketo program sync at this time. It's very applicable to your CRM campaign sync. So you can easily translate it over to that. And then I'm going to show you my offline channel worksheet that I use that I think is super helpful from an operational standpoint. It enables you to document what's been done. So if someone else comes in, they can see how you documented it, why you documented it that specific way. And if there's changes in the system, Marketo Measure doesn't have a audit log. So this enables you to see, did someone make a change? Was this actually updated in this worksheet? And you can see that maybe something has occurred that maybe should not have. So we'll jump right into the account settings area for the offline channels. All right, so in this area, you can see we have the offline channels. Again, you go to My Account Settings, and you can see the offline channels section. In the offline channel sections, you can see that we have the CRM campaign types. This is your more Salesforce speaking, Salesforce language, your campaign type, right? And it pulls that into here. Your Marketo Measure pulls in the Marketo program channels. If you use Marketo and Salesforce campaigns, you'll know that there is a really good sync between campaigns and programs. The program channel is syncs to the Salesforce type or campaign type. So those things are actually one-to-one. But as we know, sometimes Salesforce has things that Marketo doesn't. Sometimes Marketo has things that Salesforce doesn't because we don't necessarily push every program over. So this enables us to be able to sync from both if we need to. Now, first, what I want to quickly show you is just the general settings. If you're not seeing your Marketo programs pull in, you'll have to check a few things. First, you will want to check your connections and make sure Marketo is connected. You'll then want to go to your Marketo general settings and make sure you have it is enabled for Marketo program sync, that you have the Marketo people sync is enabled, and then the Marketo activity sync is enabled. The activity piece we'll get to on another video, but those are the primary things that you want to make sure are enabled. Let that run and save, give it a day, and then you should be able to see your Marketo program channels pulling in. Okay. Cool. All right, so as you've heard me say before, the way I think of channels in Marketo Measure are buckets. It's just where do you want to bucket data? It's just the label on which you do that for. Now these channels here, which is where it gets confusing, are these are your Marketo channels. These are your Marketo Measure channels. So this is the bucket in which you want them to be in. This is what's inside of your Marketo instance when you look in the channels section. I'm not going to go over that today, show you where that's at, but that's the premise there. Channels in Marketo are a way in which you measure points of success and enable you to be able to track how programs are performing, right? So that's why we use that as the primary, and then we can bucket it anywhere. So you can see here, right, if I have online advertising, that's probably a bad example because we have the JavaScript running. So we're going to go to a webinar. Our webinar we host through a third party, so that the form fill and a list is ingested into Marketo. So our JavaScript just isn't seeing it, right? So we're going to come here and we can look and see, okay, here's webinar. Now, if webinar was not there, let's say, you can easily just go to create channels, add it in there, and then it would populate the bottom of the list. I'll show you quickly. See list import, right, is not in here. List import, let's say you're buying list. Not a great practice, not something that you want to be doing, but some people do it. So we'll quickly go over that, create channel. Scroll down. Go to my offline channel section. Go to list import. I do this. So all this is really doing, again, is just the label of the bucket. You can label it however you want. You can saw there's plenty of customization there, but it's saying if I were to ever create a rule for list imports, I'm going to push that data into this bucket called list imports. So if your nomenclature wants to change, the reason that you may want to do that is when you go into Discover reporting and you have the channel reports that you pull, or if you're in your CRM, you're pulling reports and you want to look at channels, maybe you don't use the terminology list imports in other departments. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's list purchases or whatever it may be. You can change the nomenclature so that populates accordingly, so it meets your standard of reporting, right? All right, so now we're going to go into the Marketo section here. Again, if you're not seeing this, you need to look at your connections, make sure Marketo's connected. You're going to go into the programs area. Now I have something already set up for webinar. Webinar is really the most common. It's partly because it's the most challenging and it enables me to be able to give anyone the ability to see how to use this optimally. And so this is where you can really pull in. You pull in the program channel, which is what we just discussed from Marketo, label that webinar. We can then look at the program membership. I'm going to go through step by step on how to do this in a moment. Is equal to registered. It could be attended. It could be anything, right? And then we have a start and end date. So depending how old your system is, how long you've been at the company, really how much do you trust the data? How far back are you willing to go to say, I feel confident that the data is right inside your Marketo system? You can backfill that data. So you can retroactively push in touch points such as first touch or lead creation or even some middle touches from old initiatives that you've had, because you want to actually show where you generated those leads, right? It's not from these new channels that you have that you're promoting things on. It may be because they came to a webinar or attended a webinar. So you can book in that. And then what you can do is say, okay, but I want to actually track everyone who's attended moving from this date on. So in this example, registered is something that is happening on the website, and the JavaScript was placed on the website on 05/06/2022, and then from there, we're no longer tracking the registered status because our JavaScript will be capturing that upon each form submission. Again, because the JavaScript was placed on the website, let's say on 05/07/2022, right? Okay. And then here, attended though, because it's through, the list gets pushed back into Marketo, and we actually don't see anyone who attended, even though they're watching it maybe on a Cvent or another third-party webinar system. We'll keep pumping those attended statuses into our system, and we're also going to go as far back as 2020. Hopefully all that made sense. I'm going to quickly review that with you, and then I'll review this here as well. All right, so we're going to just go over the webinar together. Select program channel is equal to, and it needs to be exactly how it is. The program channel needs to be exactly how it is inside of Marketo. So if there's a space in here, it won't pull it in because we don't recognize the space. So we have to make sure it's exactly as it is. This is AND logic. So now we see the AND. You don't have many options here. Now, if you do have additional fields on the program or additional fields added to the program membership object inside of your Marketo, you will see those fields. But then we're going to do program membership progression status. You can also do just reach success and be done with it. That sometimes works for people. Sometimes it doesn't, because again, the programs have changed over the years and success wasn't always the same. And so you have to be really specific with what you want. And so that's why I like going this route. You can do is equal to. We have a matches any function. I'm going to go through that real quick. Matches any, you still have to use your asterisk. So you do this, you could do you can do something like this, makes it super easy for you. And then we can put in our date, membership date, okay? Great. Now, if you wanted to add the OR logic, you can do this, which adds OR. Or you can simply clone this because you want to continue this and you like this logic here, but you realize, oh, I don't really need the matches any. I'm going to edit this. I'm going to do is equal to. Actually, I'm going to keep these the same. This matches any. And then on this one, I'm going to edit and is only equal to great. And now I'm done with I'm literally done with it. This is exactly what I want. I do have the ability to have the ability to pump in a date time in which I want, or a membership date in which I want the touch point to show as. So it's based upon the program membership date, and that now populates. So again, you just use that curly bracket. It should automatically populate for you. If you're not seeing it, you can do the curly bracket and start typing in program. It will populate automatically for you though. And now every touch point in my system, or now I can push this data over. And the way that I push that over is I simply go save and publish. This then is going to grab all the data from my Marketo instance that matches this rule and pull it in. Now, before you do that, do test, okay? Test these rules out. You put in the program ID. It should be just 4 numbers. You put those in there, you run test, and it will populate. It will show you the total members in the program and how many meet the rule that you have. So let's say we had a webinar that had 1,000 people, but only 100 met the attendance. Okay, it's going to show you 100 touch points are going to happen because of the attended status, right? So make sure you run a test for each one that you add, okay? Now I'm going to pull in my offline channel worksheet, because this process I have found to be very tedious. You can see there's a lot of clicking that goes on. If I don't know exactly all my Marketo channels, I have to go back after I have to press save draft, and then have to go back to program channels. It's just, or offline channels. It's very cumbersome. So what I'm going to do is move this over. And again, I'm going to make this available in my notes below, in my description below. But here I can identify what is it that I want to pull in. So I have literally typed out each of my Marketo program channels that I saw in my offline channel section. I'm going to identify, do I want to pull this over, yes or no? And I'm going to run down this list and do that for each one. Oops, sorry. So I can do, let's see, list imports, I don't want to do, right? And so what I like to do also when I do that is just cross them out, okay? And then once I define that, which ones I want to keep, so let's say this is yes, I've identified my historical time frame in which I want to stop is based upon my JavaScript time. I'll even put that into this note here. Let's say it was the beginning of this year. So now I have that. I can always come back to this. I know it's there, but I would say I want to do online advertising. The measure channel that I want to populate that into is, I'm going to just label it as paid. I can't remember the name, paid something. Say paid media. And the subchannel is not going to be any because really it's all of my online advertising, right? I haven't specified what, that it's Facebook or this or that. It's just all pumps into the same Marketo program channel that I have. So I'm not going to specify that. And so here, I also like to actually label this historical. So I can actually see, okay, this was pre-JavaScript data that's pumping into my reports. And now I can just simply come in here. I have all the data that I need, or not all of it, but a lot of it. I can go, okay, program channels, online advertising. Progression status, I would work with my Marketo person, or if I am the Marketo person, I would have this on another screen or a side-by-side. Okay, what are the progression status that I want? And I would just say, just success. My start date, again, if I want to only go back 2 years worth of data, and I feel confident in that. And then my end date, I can see right there. And now you can see that's my rule. So now I can simply just have this in my screen side by next to me. I come in here, I add rule. I know it's going to be my historical paid media because that's literally what I labeled it as. I copy this, come over here, I paste it, and then I build out my rule as I see fit. So that's the offline channels area. Again, really utilize this offline channel worksheet. I think it's super helpful. I know this is one of my more longer videos, but I think it's just something that's needed and really helpful for those who are working through this tool. I hope this helps. Please leave any comments down below and let me know if there's anything that I can make any more videos about or anything like that. Thanks so much.